The thing that our pros should be looking at is the step back approach. Look at surveillance over door window contacts and motion sensors, right? Because the thing is, you want to be aware before they get to the window or before they get to the door. That's what you can now have with surveillance. But if you could stop it before they get there, and you can go, oh, that's not a burglar, that's not a criminal, that's my grandma.
All units, we have a code red. Code red! Code red! Code red! Code red! Do not attempt to move or we'll be shooting ourselves.
On this episode of ResiWeek, we talk home security on the rise, an AI ISC keynote, and manufacturer rep training. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek. This is ResiWeek, episode 504, concerning video. Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv. And this week, I'm pleased to be joined by two of my longtime friends. First, we have Mrs. Katye McGregor-Bennett. She's the president of K&B Communications. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing well. It's so funny still to be called Mrs.
I know.
We're pushing 15 years, but it still cracks me up.
That's why I did it. Then we've got the one and only Mr. Joe Whitaker. He's the VP of Technology over at Origin Acoustics. How are you, sir?
I am doing well. Glad to be back on again on a fun news week.
We're going to have a lot of fun. Doesn't matter what the news is. All right. This is coming to us from CE Pro. Home security is on the rise. Americans and Canadians, I'll tell you, are prioritizing cameras and smart features. This is moving on from just I don't want to say a luxury, but just a nice to have to something that's needed a lot. And homeowners are thinking that over 50% believe that security should be mandatory in all new homes. And 54% have said that they've even considered buying a security system for a family member, which is very touching, really. Katye, when you see this and couple it with the FBI crime database that says a home burglary occurs every 26 seconds in the United States, does this shock you, surprise you? Are you concerned with the push into video monitoring from the security side of this?
Yeah. I mean, there's a few things. I think just general sentiment out there is a lot of people are more concerned about things that they weren't really concerned about a few years ago on a number of levels, right? So it's just sort of a geopolitical state of the world. But yeah, I think the video surveillance side of it is a concern, but I hate to say it, but this is one of those scenarios like that train left the station a long time ago when we started installing Ring doorbells everywhere. And how often do you even think about that? But that essentially is video surveillance. As soon as that notification hits, the camera is live. I mean, you're being recorded just coming and going from your house. I don't think about it that often. I don't need to. But I think it's just one of those things, how easily we're adopting technology and not necessarily thinking about some of the other usages of it and how comfortable really are we with that. With this one, again, I kind of say that train has left the station. It's not really what you were asking, but one of the things that I did like about the article is that it shows that new construction is including installed technology, which, albeit it is security, this is a conversation we weren't having 5 or 10 years ago about technology being installed in new construction. It's a significant uptick there. And where there's installed technology from the builder perspective, theoretically, that comes into the integrator's capacity as being something they're either involved from the start or they pick up on it once the homeowner has moved in. So, that side of it, I think, is positive. Leave it to me to find the silver lining of an otherwise dark and dreary article.
I like the warm and fuzzy of that. Joe, when you follow this, one of the things they're talking about is professional versus self-monitored. And typically we look at that and we think about just, again, traditional alarm systems, not so much the video surveillance, but that's on a rise. Blink does that, Ring does that. There's a variety of manufacturers, including some of the bigger ones, that offer that. Alarm.com offers that with traditionally installed surveillance. Is there a concern here for both the homeowner and the integrator when it comes to privacy and then limited liability of that? Is that something that dealers are overlooking?
Man, you're opening up a can of worms for me. Because did you saw the smoke come out of my ears for a second? Well, you already know I'm a firm believer that privacy has been gone for a long time. If you have a Facebook or a social media, you already gave away all that. Everybody knows your address and where you live. And so it doesn't matter, right? Privacy, who cares? When it comes to cameras and traditional security, I'm a pro and I've used Ring for the last 7 years and I'm happy. And I don't care that it doesn't really integrate with other things. I'm just trying to surveil. That's my job. And when you do them right, who needs a door contact or a motion sensor before they get to my front yard? I already know they're there. There's all those kind of things to think about, right? We're like in the world of scare tactics right now. And that's what bothers me with it. There's 145 million homes in the United States. And per year, only 1 million get burgled. That's your math, okay? Mm-hmm. It's 1 million, right? So it's 1 in 90. We'll say 1 in 90 homes per year. That's still a large amount, but it's scare tactics, right? The thing that our pros should be looking at is the step back approach. Of course, it is growing, and the growing of fear is just the fear that's going around the world. But they need to start looking at the traditional security versus what they can give monitored, right? You're paying every month. You're paying a monitoring house. Those who have licenses and do that, they pay that. Then you have the self-monitored. They could also use a central station. But RMR for our industry, stop it. Like seriously, we're in the time that everybody is getting monthly billed to death. They need to start looking at those other models where they can actually turn this into a 1 year or 5 year pay once and go away. They'll get more proposals signed and more quotes done and more checks in their pocket if they get away from the subscription fatigue, which is pretty much where security is getting jammed into. Look at surveillance over door window contacts and motion sensors, right? Because the thing is, you want to be aware before they get to the window or before they get to the door. That's what you can now have with surveillance. Because once they hit your door, grab your shotgun, it's on. But if you could stop it before they get there, and you can go, oh, that's not a burglar. That's not a criminal. That's my grandma. Those kind of things. I have a lot of problems with this article in CE Pro. I don't buy it. The security industry is what it is already. It's hard to compete with the Tycos and the ADTs if you're going to compete, you've got to do it the way our industry works. Stop looking at the RMR. Start looking at the one-time purchases or the 1 to 5 year license agreements. Then you can actually make money off of it. And stop with the old tech. Like seriously, our industry is much better than that.
Yeah, there's something to be said for bringing something new to the table, which I think we as the CDA channel need to be a little bit more aggressive on with that. All right, let's change topics for a second. This comes to us from Residential Systems. ISE 2026 keynote speaker Sol Rashidi is going to present an AI reality check. If you've listened to the show for more than a minute, you'll know that I absolutely love this because specifically, as I find the quote for a moment, I just had it. Sorry. She said that in talking about it, that she's going to dive deep into the battlefield of hype, half truths, and hard realities, which just puts a smile on my face. Joe, oftentimes when I see the keynote announcements for our major shows, I question whether they are going to be either A, a sales pitch, B, a pat ourselves on the shoulder, or C, something that doesn't apply at all. This one doesn't fall under any of those. This, I'm going to argue, might be one of the best keynotes potentially that we've seen in a long time for our channel. Is it wishful thinking for me to sit back and say a bunch of the executives from the manufacturing side are going to go to this and get a better grip on what AI actually means? And
God, I hope so.
Right?
Okay. So keynotes. Yes. This is probably, in my opinion, will be of all the shows, right? So we're talking CEDIA, Infocom, and ISC.
Yep.
This is probably, to me, time-wise, one of the most impactful in how many cities have I been to? So we'll give it at least the last 15 years. I like the one Shelley did at CEDIA some years back.
Yeah.
That was different, right? And it was timely. It was good timing. This one is even more important, right? Because AI, if you look at just in general, whether it be, I'm not going to say any brand names because you never know who I might want to partner with next. But having said that, so I think the generalization of the term AI is being overused and emphasized for things that are not AI, right?
Yeah.
AI is not traditional machine learning at all, and it's definitely not if, then, else, or, which is 90% of what people are calling AI right now. Yeah. That's a manually inputted programmatical execution. That is not AI. So if you're a brand out there that thinks that that's AI, please stop it, because once you figure out what AI is really, and you can deploy what it is really, you've just devalued your value proposition by calling stuff that's not AI. So do yourself a favor and stop it, because in the next 5 years, you're going to figure out what it really is, how to make it, how to deploy it. Because you've been pushing this BS as AI for 5 years, you've devalued your value proposition when you're actually at AI. So my advice is, manufacturers, stop it. You will rarely hear me quote anything as actually being AI at all. So that's the value of this is to me. And I will be sitting listening to this, because the debunking and demystifying portion of this keynote will be massively impactful to not just the manufacturers, but also the attendees.
Yeah.
Because you out there as integrators that are going to be attendees, you're getting sold a hog right now. Like what you're being told is AI and you're selling, it is not really AI. That's what you need to watch out for, because when you do that, now you're giving your clients expectations. And then when it doesn't perform, it's your fault. And that's like, nobody wants to be in that right now. AI is still, I mean, I know the word's been around for a minute, but in our marketplace, especially in the like in the CEDIA channel and the AVIXA channel, it is so new that maybe 2% of what's out there is actually AI that you're positioning or propositioning as AI. So you could take that down, what I said about manufacturers. It's the same thing with the integrators, right? Don't devalue your value proposition before you're actually there, because once you get there, none of your customers are going to believe you anymore. Like you're going to hurt your future sales by betting the farm on stuff that's not really AI yet.
Yeah, that's a great point. Katye, I love what Joe said about integrators kind of understanding that they are jumping on a bandwagon a lot of times. They're doing it. They're not doing it on purpose, right? But they're getting sold a sheet of goods that doesn't really exist and isn't technically accurate. How do dealers go about, or is there any way dealers can go about marketing and latching on the AI side, because it is exciting and profitable and something that our customers are asking for? But to Joe's point, they're getting sold a bill of goods that doesn't honestly usually even exist. How do we walk that tightrope of our customers want AI, but they're not going to get AI, and if we tell them they're getting AI, we've lied to them about what they're getting.
Okay, so
Nicely put.
Yeah, so there is a lot in there, both what you were asking and what you were paving the path with. And I think, first of all, we need to clarify quickly, because there's AI as a topic, general, right? That's the macro. But if we're talking about AI technology that integrators then implement, because manufacturers implement some sort of AI into products that then integrators have to then implement, integrate, support, service, speak about, whatever, because homeowners think that their home now has AI in it because they've got technology. There's that. Then there's the AI tool set that the industry at large and humans across the globe are being advised to use, or we're going to be dinosaurs before we're done finding the last of the dinosaurs. And I think, there's this conversation we kind of need to have both of the conversations, not here and not today, but that's part of it, because for the last several years, let's just go back to like post-COVID era, from a trade show perspective, what a lot of the programming and what a lot of the editorial content has been about is the rise of AI in general and how to apply it in such a way to not become a dinosaur either in our knowledge base or our service offering. And service offering would be a product set as well, right? So, and I think there's been such a push to don't be a dinosaur, stay ahead of the curve, start learning how to implement AI, right? And you guys out there in Radio Land can't see me with my single air quote here, but how to implement AI. The rest of us as professionals who don't have a role in professional integration per se, we're not in the field. But my pressure point is utilizing AI tools within my agency to produce a better product, air quotes again, because I have adopted and introduced and implemented AI tools, because we're not dinosaurs anymore. And I'm not even bothering putting up my fingers on these air quotes anymore. These tools are great, but it's the humanization of the tools and the technology that make the art of AI adoption and implementation truly unique and special. And that's what, as an industry, we're in that turning point now, where now we know what we need to know. Now we've got to harness it and get ahead of it. And from an implementation standpoint, and for every one of us, it's different. For Joe, manufacturer side, it's different for you than it is for me, is different for Matt on the integration. It's also quite different from what Sol Rashidi is going to be talking about, which I think is fascinating. And now I wish that I had had actually watched her TED Talk prior to coming on here, because where she's coming from all of this, from an executive and a leadership perspective, should be kind of that next phase for all of us, which is it's a reality check. The AI reality check is what her talk is called, what it takes to scale the future of leadership. So, it's kind of the combination of all of the things that I sort of threw out there sporadically, but it's also now the culmination of these touch points and these talking points that we've been thrown for years. Now, as leaders, current leaders or future leaders of the industry, what are we going to do with this to stay ahead, but also protect our clients and our employees and our butts, quite honestly? Just, and now we're at this kind of new era when we have to stay as exponentially far ahead of this, and we've got to expedite our knowledge and understanding of it to save our butts, to save our bacon. Really, that's how I see it.
And I want to add to that because you hit on a couple key points that what a lot of us are exposed to right now that is being called AI is just a very, very good search engine with some ifs or buts based on the person, right? I want to play music, but I'm 45 and I'm in the kitchen. Those kind of things, right? It's a glorified search engine right now that goes out there and says, oh, most people at 45 at 5 o'clock in the evening who are in the kitchen that want to do X. This is the generalization. That's not yet machine learning. That is just taking a couple of little tidbits and Google searching. AI is really good at Google searching. If you ever use a ChatGPT or some other searches, sometimes it'll actually show you the logos they're searching. That's what it is. It is your search assistant that could throw in some programmatical ifs, ors, ands, and equate. It's not learning yet. Right? It's just searching. I equate it to me looking for my kid's shoes at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm AI at that point. It's a 4-year-old. It could be under the couch. Let's check under the couch.
And I think the difference is that there is a lot of real AI that's being utilized, as well as obviously a ton of machine learning. But what the general populace has access to your point, Joe, it's like, I love using Gronk because it always shows literally everything it's finding and where it goes to get it. And again, it's just indexing everything and then putting it into a nice form for me. If I want to call that AI, cool, but it's not AI. It's not AI. That's the title of the show. It's not AI.
Search thing.
All right. Let's hit our last story of the day. This comes to us from CE Pro. It's an industry perspective, why manufacturers need to focus on training programs in RMR. You can go read through this.
Or
All right. So we're going to, if you want to go read through this, you can. I am not going to recommend it. And I am going to apologize for that because I very rarely do this. But my gosh, this is not a great article. And CE Pro, like,
okay, all right. I'm cutting you off. I'm cutting you off there.
why? I was going to let this be awesomely awkward for a while.
Well, it already is. But but here's the thing. Shifting away, what the article is suggesting is actually a deeply rooted need in the industry. And this is kind of Katye on her soapbox again. Sorry, listeners, this is twice in one show. But the desperate need for professional sales skills in the industry has never been worse. And it's unfortunately, it was a sad byproduct of the housing crisis way back late 2000s, when we started to see
that.
Ouch! And we saw budgets just getting hacked everywhere. And one of the first to go was training. And if you remember harken back to a day when manufacturers had trainers out in the field full time. And that they just don't exist anymore. There are a few, there's a handful, and of that handful, there are a few that are really, really good. And I mean, no offense to those of you who are really good who I just don't know, but please raise your hand and tell us, because I do believe that is a very small pool, and I'd love to know that the pool is filled with more people than I think it is. It's kind of like a hot tub that's cold in the middle of winter. I don't think there's many bodies in that pool, that hot tub. Anyways, but the need for professional sales training is so desperate in the industry, and I don't see enough of a push for it. I put it as high of a crisis as the skilled labor force crisis. Quite honestly, I do, because as quickly as we're bringing in technicians, if or as they grow out of those roles, what's next for them? They need to know how to sell, even if they're not going into sales. Everybody in our industry would benefit from professional sales skills training of an older era. I mean, like, anybody remember Zig Ziglar? There's probably like 5 that are listening to the show. Yeah. But, that's just a well-known name, but insert professional sales trainer name here. And there are plenty out there. We just haven't been influenced as well as we should have, could have, need to be in the channel. And I think, it taking away from the article, that is what this is focusing on. And for that, I do support the notion we desperately need manufacturers to regain ownership of the need to provide proper training to their constituents, which would be their own people. It would be the reps, it'd be their distributors, and ultimately right down to the dealer level. You cannot rely on your reps and your distributors to be your trainers if you have not properly trained them. And if you don't have proper training in place within your business, your factory, at the corporate level, then how can you expect anybody else to be able to professionally and successfully sell your products? You just can't. I'll step off the sandbox now, but that's where I do think this article does shed light on something that we've got to be talking about more. Well,
let me give you an example of this and the diminishing of sales, right? Before we go to young Joseph.
Little Joe.
I grew up around the car industry because my grandfather he owned a dealership, so it was just ingrained in us. And I've been been in the room for car deals since I was a kid. The degradation of skills and the movement from data to soft skills is atrocious. And anytime I now walk into a car dealership, they're ready to kick me out in about 3 minutes because they walk over, they want to sit you in the car. They want the emotional reaction. They want to sit down. They will not show you a number until you've gone through the little option chart and picked out everything your little heart desires without having a conversation of budget. And then when they do finally get to budget, it's scrawled on a piece of paper as far as, what do you want to pay monthly? Like, well, that doesn't actually matter if my $200 a month payment is stretched over 10 years. That doesn't solve the problem of selling me the car. There was a time when you actually had a data-driven decision, an option when you were looking at that car sale. That is gone in this industry now. Joe, when you look at this article, and when you listen to what Katye said about sales training, I've heard for years from a variety of manufacturers that they offer great training. I've experienced it one time from manufacturers. One time. I've been in a ton. I've heard, I'd rather not, actually. Because I also don't want to call out necessarily everyone that is atrociously terrible. I've been in a lot that try real hard, but they can't escape what they see on a manufacturing side versus what we as integrators see on a daily basis, right? There's often a disconnect there. How do manufacturers actually do this? Like, the majority of them have gotten away from any training at all. I've sat in trainings where they're literally reading spec sheets to me.
That's not good. So, okay, I'll start that part by saying kind of, and manufacturers, I hope you're listening. Reps, I hope you're listening. Integrators, I hope you're listening. You know, Katye said something prior to the show as we were kind of just talking about what stories we're going to go. And she said, you know, most of the good traders out there are in their, you know, mid 40s to 50s. Katye, that really stuck with me.
It's adorable.
Because
it's really 65. It's wishful thinking. Sorry, Joe.
It's in my head because I can name some really good technical / sales trainers that are out there. And only one of you got Nathan Holmes, Dave Pedigo, Jeff Gardner, Peter Aylett. There's this list that you know that can do technical and sales. And you're right. Like, I can't, Frank Padilla from Avixa, right? The guy that does the really good Dante trainings. I'm really struggling for that new, you know, generation. We at Origin, we have a couple, which is Kyle Cashwell and Todd. They're younger, much younger than me. But they're getting there, right? So, but I think that also goes to mentorship. So what you said, Matt, to put it out there for the reps and the integrators, is for manufacturers, when you propose these, you need to think about who you're talking to, because the reps need more sales training than the integrator does, right? So a rep needs, you know, 25% technical, 75% sales, and the integrator needs 75% technical, 25% sales, because you're pitching a brand or a line of product if you're a rep. If you're an integrator, you're pitching the ecosystem. You're going to avoid at all costs trying to line item any discussion, because that's going to make a sales pitch take 4 days. But as a rep, you're going to key in on a specific line, a specific manufacturer, or a group of them, that it is not your job to turn it into an ecosystem. Okay? So that's the thing to keep in mind. Manufacturers, if you're out there, just listen to what I'm saying. That's going to help. The other thing is to do this consistently. And consistently, like, that's your word. Like at Origin, like, I would say we probably host, 3 trainings a month. You know, I'll hold one on Netgear. I'll hold one on Invisibles. I'll hold one on amps. And then Kyle will do the same, and Todd will do the same. And we'll have gigs at the office where we bring in 50 to 100 dealers or our entire rep force, and that continual training, right? Because it's all about the repetition and being consistent. The only way they're going to learn the right messaging to get a sale is they have to hear it all the time, and they have to figure out a way to make it comfortable for them to pitch. So if you just bullet pointed this article, you know what? Go back to AI real quick. So if you want to read this article, don't. Copy and paste the whole article, throw it into a chat GPT, and tell it, just give me the bullet points. And those are the only things you really need to know, right? Consistency, repetitiveness, the details that your audience segment needs, and what is the value proposition from the manufacturer to the rep, from the rep to the integrator, and from the integrator to the end using client. And then you're done, right? But manufacturers, guys, I mean, it's common sense. I mean, you kind of got to do this. Training is dying, and it can't. We're getting way too advanced in technology. Even on a speaker side, with the way speakers work nowadays and more efficient, you have to get better at this.
You want to save some money for your support team?
Train really good.
Train better. Yeah. The best part is when you throw that in, it's going to respond with, hey, I think I wrote this. All right. Thank you so much.
No, let me add one thing. Hold on before you shut this down. Before you shut this down, let me add one thing.
Too. It's so much more.
Before you shut this down, you said something that I think all manufacturers need to do. When you have a rep training, your customer experience staff and your tech support staff needs to sit through those trainings. Yep. They need to hear what you're telling your reps and your integrators so that they know the proper channels of answers. Like they need the answers that you train on, they need to have them there. They need to have that templatized in a knowledge base and FAQs. Yep. Like all of that gets put together. Everybody needs to be saying the same thing at all times to the same questions, or everybody's confused. Yeah, I agree, Matt. Once you said technical support, yeah. Yep.
That's a whole other topic, but that is on point. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Katye, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Canby Communications, where can they do that?
KMBcom.com on the web. Find me, Katye McGregor-Bennett, on LinkedIn or company on LinkedIn. Just look for the one with the mountain logo. There's a couple of us out there, but only one Katye.
Excellent. Thank you. Joe, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Origin Acoustics, where can they do that?
Just look up originacoustics.com. Look us up on the socials. I think we're the only Origin Acoustics in the world, so it's pretty easy to find us. And I'm Joe Whitaker. You could find me by that name on all the socials and with things at Origin. I'm not the only one in the world, but I should be pretty easy to find with this mug right here. Reach out directly. I always say that. I'm not one of those people that hide. If you got a question, even if you're not one of our customers, I don't care. I'm always there to help.
Excellent. Thank you again. Thank you for joining us. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on most of the socials. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Hello, this is Steve Greenblatt, host of AVNation's A State of Control podcast. Each month, Rich Fregosa and I explore trending topics related to control programming and automation in the audiovisual industry. We speak with a variety of AV professionals who share their perspectives, knowledge, and experiences. Please join us for this monthly conversation. Check out A State of Control on avnation.tv or wherever you get your podcasts.